confusion, no confusion. He said, she said, clearing up the drama with Wanda.
Hey, it's me, Wanda B, and you are tuned into He Said, She Said on Intellectual Radio and iHeart Station. And I'm here. It's another Sunday. Yay! Happy Sunday. We got another hot topic for you. We talk about relationships, and it's kind of an open dialogue between men and women. So we get a chance to express our views on different issues in relationships. So today I have with me Okara.
Hey.
Okara has an undercover secret that he doesn't tell our dear audience here. He said, she said. I'm going to bust him out early, so I make sure everybody knows about this. So if I run out of time at the end, I can't say I didn't get a chance to say it. I'm going to say it right now. Okara, tell them about your book. Book?
A book.
Right.
Okara.
And God, have we heard about the book? What's the name of it? Okay, he got the giggles. We're going to come back to you. And my dear,
hey, y'all.
Mimi, affectionately known as N. My socialites to the table of He Said, She Said. Okay, the book, you ready? You done giggling?
Yes, I'm done giggling. It's called Be Your Priority, Not His Option.
Ooh. Whoa. Why haven't we talked about? That's exactly what I said. When someone told me you have this accomplished author on your panel, I was like, who? I was like, do you know he's never mentioned his book? Not once. Mm-hmm. Is that for me?
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I don't have a lipstick.
I didn't understand what it meant at first. I'm like, she got it. And then I was like, oh, woman code. Yeah.
But the reason it has not been mentioned is because I wrote it in 2009.
Okay. Silence.
So does it go like, does it disappear?
Right. It's still a book. It's still out there.
Because I wrote it in 2009. Oh.
Okay. Tell me the title again.
Be Your Priority, Not His Option.
Be your priority,
not his option.
Oh, so we definitely have to have.
We have to have a whole book reading discussion. I don't care. Written in 2009 is still relevant because there's still women who are not their priority, and it's
absolutely.
So that is going to be coming up, people. So get the book. He told you the title. How can they get the book?
PayPal.
Okay.
Okara Hollis, Okara H at AOL. I don't sell it on Amazon no more. They take too much money.
Okay. So that's how you're going to get the book. We're going to have a discussion about it. You don't have to have the book to be in the discussion, but at the same time, it'd be nice. You read the book. Let's have a discussion about it. That's going to be coming up. I'm making him do it. Now, he didn't know about this until I just said this on
right
air.
Now.
So that was an intellectual radio. He said, she said exclusive. We have put the author on blast. Boom.
Bam.
Bam. I wish I had my little blast sound effect right here because I would blast it right now. Boom.
That's funny.
I do have a sound effect, but I don't have it up. I'm trying to get it up.
Really?
I already said it.
Too.
I know,
You got
right?
a sound effect?
I got sound effects. I don't have it up though.
Okay.
So we'll just get my boom. Guys, share the broadcast, please. You see what the topic is. This week is brought to you by Allstate Insurance, 7380 West 87th Street, 708-599-5100, 708-599-5100. Whether you need home, auto, or life insurance, you are in good hands with Allstate. Call Salim. Tell Sal I sent you. Been a friend of mine for many years, also an insurance agent. I recommend him. That's 708-599-5100. Get your quotes. And then if you like bling, if you wear jewelry, you may need to wear some paparazzi. I got some here on the table for you to look at. Everything is $5. Rings, necklaces, bracelets,
too.
You name it, we got it. All $5. Nothing is more than $5. And the necklaces come with earrings too. So you get the set for $5. You can go to Paparazzi Accessories, 213-470, and order online. They just have a plethora of options online, or you can contact me and we can talk about it. And if you like to sell paparazzi, you can let me know. fun way to earn some extra cash. So today's topic is, what's today's topic?
Should your mate measure up?
Should your mate measure up? So it's different ways your mate can measure up. So one of the things we were discussing before, we had a whole show before the show.
Yes.
So we decided to bring the show to you guys, our own discussion. So I'll let you, O'Kara, finish that sentence. Should your mate measure up?
Should your mate measure up to your parents' love?
So you had that mother who really washed your clothes, did your laundry, cook for you. Your mother you can go to every Sunday and have that meal cooked, and your mom does everything for you. You can ask your mom, will you come do this? And she's there at your house cleaning for you at any moment. Or you have that dad, I need my oil changed. Or you say, I need it. He's at the doorbell. Ding. You didn't even say what you needed yet. He just shows up. So
what you need?
What you need? Daddy got you. Should your mate measure up to those standards? I think so. Everybody kind of feels differently to this. I'm sure there are people who said, if my mother could do it, you could do it. And it seems somewhat basic. And then today's my dad's birthday. Wow, that came out. I thought of that, measuring up to old Walter Davis. I didn't mean to call you old. I meant like, never mind. It didn't come out right.
Clean it up.
Clean it up. You're not old. Because you just have a spring chicken as a child. Right. So happy birthday, Daddy. So
happy birthday.
Do I look for people to measure up to Walter Davis? I do think subconsciously I do look for men with the same traits as my dad.
Yeah.
So I do think I kind of look for someone who measures up a little.
Yeah. I can't say that I actually look. My dad is a very peculiar creature. So I probably look that they don't carry some of his characteristics. My dad was rough on us. So rough on the girls. So I can't say that I consciously, but I am alarmed when a man shows traits like my father. Like, oh shoot.
You're like oh no. But do you think you attract them because of that? Because of your dad?
I can remember in high school, my high school teacher pulling me to the side and saying, Nemia, let me ask you something. I go, okay. He goes, your father is around in your life. And I go, I mean, yeah. He was like, no. I'm saying like you see your father, he's active and things. And he hadn't met my father.
He had not.
He had not.
Okay.
I said, yeah, he is. I spend the weekends, 2 weekends out the month. And then most summers I go over my dad's house. He goes, because you act different than the other girls. And he said, and I can tell it's because your father is involved in your life. So I do think that it has changed my behavior some, but I don't know if that's the reason why I would attract men like my father. I don't attract many men like my father. My father was strict.
Do I care about?
My dad was strict too. I used to think it was because he was in Vietnam. I used to think sometimes because I'm the product of whoopings. I'm old fashioned. You didn't finish the dishes, so get up out of bed right now and pull all the covers off you in the middle of the night and tell you to go do the dishes. Kind of love.
That's not a military thing. That's just
I was talking about the beatings. Oh. I would feel like he was beating me like somebody.
Right. But see, I only got one whooping from my dad. So he was very verbally spot on. Like he'll make you feel like crap with his words. And the punishment was enough just having to listen to the lecture. But
I got lectures with it. Yeah. I got lectures with the hitting at the same time.
What are you doing? Because
I know I was a good girl.
Daughter.
Right. Because I don't spank.
I was a good girl.
I don't spank Joy. She be asking me to though. She be asking.
Her actions ask you.
Yeah, she be asking. She be like, "Daddy, go ahead." And I look at her. I just have to scream at her. I shock her sister when I scream at her. She tell me, "Daddy, you hurt my feelings."
Oh. Now, see, if my dad told me that would have probably hurt me more. Honestly, whoopings, I get over those. In fact, if I expected it, I would do bad knowing I could get over that whooping and still do bad.
Like it's gonna hurt. It's only gonna hurt for a couple minutes. Yeah, by the night I'll be okay.
And it probably wasn't as bad now as an adult. I don't know. I don't remember. But back then it felt like it was brutal. But
you know,
can you tell a girl that has had the father in her life dating?
A lot of times, yes.
Guys, answer that for me who are chiming in on Facebook. I gotta go see who all is here. Stephen, answer that for me. Do you look for, that's better. What's better? Have you looked for, or can you tell the difference of a woman that has had her father in her life? I'd like to hear from the guys. Hello, Yolanda Carter. Shireen, glad you found your granddad. Hi, Vicky. So
she found her grandfather.
Yes. Good. Did you see that? Yeah, that he was missing. They found him he was in the hospital under John Doe.
Oh wow! And
he had been there. So yes, but I'm glad that had a happy ending. So can you tell the difference? I don't think I can tell a guy whose mother was in his life.
I mean, most guys, mothers are in their life though.
But you can tell. Yeah, you can tell a guy who has a strained relationship, or their mother was not involved in their life by their interaction with women. I
involved in their life in a poor, because like you said, most guys, the mother is involved. Yeah. But I guess we're more saying that they don't have a good relationship with her.
Yeah.
Or she left a nasty impression of women.
Yeah.
On them.
You can tell that.
Yes.
Yes. We have a Facebook group. He said, she said, please join the group. We have these same conversations. We have a good time. Now you don't have to comment. You can just read, but join the group, chime in. And I would say from the group, I can tell from the responses, the ones whose mother may not have been the nicest woman, or I think.
Yes.
How long will he get the giggles? You can't get nothing out of him for a good 2 seconds till the giggles go.
I was just thinking. I probably could tell too.
I think you can.
But I don't really compare people to my mother.
You don't compare them. Do you care whether they've had a mother? Do
I care if a woman
their
had
father was in their life?
No, I don't really care. But I do notice a difference though. There is
what's the difference?
Confidence. Yeah, confidence. I think for some odd reason, if you have a present father and he's, a decent to good dad, he breeds confidence in you, boys and girls. I think that's what happens. And a lot of times when you are dating a girl who doesn't have a father, whose father wasn't present, versus a girl whose father is present, especially if she's like a daddy's girl, there's a certain type of confidence in who they are, and a certain type of willpower that comes along with it a lot of times. If he is
willpower,
if he is a positive influence. Explain the willpower.
How can you?
Because, all right, so for instance, I think that there are people who, let's say you're single. This is the best way. Let's say you're single. You want a man, but the options that come to you aren't what you want. It takes a lot of willpower to not accept less than what you want.
Okay.
To walk away from that.
I get that now. And I think I agree with that, at least from my own perspective and the women I know. And you do have a strong role model of some sort of, they've given you some, because even you, I think, some foundation, like you say, you're not necessarily looking for someone like your father, but a foundation to know I don't want that behavior.
Yeah.
I don't want, or I do want that behavior. Yeah, I never thought of it that way in those terms, but that makes sense. So is it the same for guys and women? For guys, what am I asking? How can I reverse that? Reverse that for me.
Guys and their mother?
Yeah. Is that a woman question?
I don't know. It probably would be for women.
Is that a question for us? No, I think it goes both ways, because you do. Okira just mentioned the term a daddy's girl. You do have mama's boys. and which are always kind of a negative light. With a daddy's girl is seen as, oh, she's just spoiled by her father, and it breeds not as negative as a mama's boy. A mama's boy are always kind of looked at as kind of Freudian, like they want
soft.
Somebody like their mama, for real.
I remember when I first wrote my book.
Now the book comes up.
Now we're talking about the book.
We never referred
now
to
we can mention the book in a conversation.
In conversation, has he referred to his book?
Out there. I remember.
And now the book is quoted. Let's hear off the book.
I remember when I first wrote the book. This young lady asked me, like, what do you do with my mama's boys? And I was like, I really have no answer for you because I don't know guys like that. I don't personally know guys who I would consider mama's boys. And my impression of a mama's boy is a guy whose mom is, intricately in their
overly
in their life.
In
their adult life.
As if they were still young.
As if they were still young. Like,
I see them as like,
I don't know guys.
Please their mom.
Right. I don't know guys like that. I've heard about plenty of guys, but I don't know guys like that. Most of the guys that I know, they moms stay at a safe distance. And like my mom, she doesn't involve herself at all with my business.
Don't you think, or is it because, could it be all of these things that your mom is more like a dad raises his daughter? I feel my dad raised me to let me go into the world, not to continue to be attached to me, but to give me every tool to be an adult and go out in the world and be an adult. And he's like, is done. Do what I taught you to do. Remember what I tell you to do. Remember what I've taught you to do, and be that person.
Agree. I've never thought about that.
That's absolutely. That's 100%. Yeah, that's absolutely. My mother raised, 3 boys. So she raised us to be independent of her. Like it is very, very it's tripped out because like we could all be in the same house watching the same thing on TV and all be in different rooms. I mean, we were like that. We were just, my mom, she does not interfere a lot. The only way my mother would interfere is if you come to her. Yeah, you involve her or something. And even then, I remember when me and Joy's mom broke up and I was telling her about it. My mother had one question. Is this going to affect me seeing my baby?
She didn't care about you.
She was like, look, whatever you do. Is this going to affect me seeing my daughter? I mean, my grandbaby. No, ma. Okay. And
now, I have a cousin who is he's already a mama's boy. And so the last holiday we had, he was telling us that he got a little girlfriend. So I turned to him and was like, so what size underwear do you wear? And he was like, let me go ask my mama. Because she's still you can't have a girlfriend. He's like 15.
Oh, okay.
But he was talking about possibly getting the skins. Like you can't be out here
getting skins and you don't know your own underwear size.
And so you do have a generation of men, which I see as the mama's boys. Tap you in?
No, that's a 20-second timeout when you're done. We got to address something.
I think there is a generation of men that they've been raised to be dependent. Like mom, for whatever reason, society reason, crime, all of that kind of sheltered their sons. And so like the leading lady is always their mom. Like, wait, let me go buy her whatever I get you and make sure that she has whatever. So she sees competition and that's unhealthy. But I've never thought of like my dad definitely was like, look, I'm not going to coddle you. You're going to be able to make it out in this world. So I got a lot more no's than yes. Like when I tell people like, yes, I have a dad in my life, they always think, oh, I bet you're a daddy's girl. And I was like, no. My dad didn't play. I'm a mama's girl all through and through. I can call my mama. She's going to be like, okay, I'm walking there. I'm walking over to the studio right now. But my dad would be like, you need to figure this out. You got to learn these lessons.
That's
said
how my
skins.
dad was as well.
Hit the skins.
She said skins. I just got to say that.
I didn't know.
She
I
said
was
skins.
Like,
That
is that what?
You dating yourself. Like you done show how old you are. You said skins. I'm like,
I would have said juicing you now. You know I like the word juicing.
She could have used juicing and then they're way down here and put me up here with the skins.
I'm like,
at least I understood skins. Juicing, I've been like juicing.
Still saying that?
Yeah.
Hit the skin. But,
I think I was before the skins there actually, because I still thought that was it.
See, Wanda makes me feel better every single time.
I thought that was like recent. I'm sorry.
There are times I'm conscious of whether or not I'm ruining joy for later on. So I because when me and her mom was together, I used to always tell her mom, like, look, you're gonna have to be the bad guy and I'm gonna be the good guy. But since it didn't work out like that, I have to, sometimes be the bad guy. But it's hard because I just like see her and I'll be like, come here, So, and she plays to that. She plays to it as much as she possibly can. Like, girls, y'all are like just terrible for that. But I wonder sometimes, like, because she's always like, Daddy, pick me up. Daddy, do this. Daddy, do that. Daddy, do this. Daddy, do that. And I asked her one day, like, am I the only person you asked to do this? Yeah, because you my daddy, And so I wonder sometimes, like, is she going to grow up and be like one of them people who like, my daddy already do this, that. If you can't do it, then I ain't dating you, Am I going to have this standard? Because, I mean, quite frankly, I plan on providing her with everything I can think of that she needs. But I wonder, I don't necessarily want her to end up not being able to interact with a man in the way that, in a romantic way, because she's so spoiled by my presence, because it is a difference. It is a difference from how I love her and how I've loved any woman. Like, I can give her everything without any condition. Like, the truth is that, when I've loved a woman, it's conditions. And I just think that for anybody to think that it will be the same, because basically what's in your mind and your emotions determines a lot of times how you treat somebody. And I don't know if like that can be matched in a way. I mean, I'm sure it can, but I don't know.
It's still a different
hard.
Feeling I think you're going for with a mate versus your dad. I think I was a daddy's girl, but he still was strict. He was still strict, but he's still spoiled. I don't want to say spoiled, because now I see what spoiled could look like. Maybe it wasn't spoiled. In my day, it was our version of spoiled. I got what I wanted, but he also would make me earn certain things.
Right.
I mean, I would have to earn it. Yeah. If I wanted a car, he told me, you come up with half. When you come up with half the money, I'll match the half. And so there was always enough give, birthdays, everything was special, but still enough. No, I got to prepare you for life type thing. But my brother got spoiled. He was a mom.
Listen, my baby brother was a mama and daddy's. Like the stuff my baby brother got away with my dad. I'm like,
that's not supposed to happen.
Who are you? And my dad's like, well, boys are gonna do things differently.
They're harder on girls, or used to be.
Yeah,
that has changed. But it used to be that our dads were harder on the girls and well, you said not as your dad was easy on your brother too. Yeah, is it the lineage thing that
because y'all bring home the babies?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Because y'all bring home the babies.
To make sure we don't bring home babies.
Yes.
And
so
guys, you can okay, that makes sense.
So if it goes wrong, it becomes more their problem.
Yeah.
So that's why make sure y'all closing y'all legs, keeping y'all legs closed.
You tell Joy that? She's too young to tell that too.
Too young. Joy come home talking about some. If she,
I came home in kindergarten talking about I had a boyfriend.
I mean, my daughter got a boyfriend.
You say she got a boyfriend.
She got a little.
And you okay with this, Daddy?
She got a little fella. She say he's her best friend. But one day she told me he was cute.
That's not a boyfriend.
Oh, she told him.
So one day she told me he was cute, And then she got a little jealous because there was another girl named Joy at the school, and she was like, I think he liked her better or something like that because he was going to the school first, but she introduced me to the girl the other day.
Serious.
She was like, "Hey,
this serious."
So but I think she realized she good. But yeah, she's been knowing this boy since they were 8 months and 9 months.
So then how do you go about providing that balance though?
What her as far as what?
She knows that what you do for her is because you are her father.
No,
or do you because you have some dads that are like, well, I'm teaching my daughter now. If I can do all this, and this, then the guy she's with better be able to match what I've done or above.
I'm never gonna tell my daughter that.
And my dad didn't do it that way.
I'm never gonna tell her that. My daughter knows, like my daughter is very aware that she does what I do because I love her more than anybody else. That's what I tell her.
But I wonder, will she think?
Will she interpret those actions as being love?
No, yeah, I think so. But the one thing I'm going to teach her is that, and I've always said this to her, even like with her friends, is anybody you're with have to treat you well.
That's what my dad really instilled.
So
the qualities I should want for myself.
Yeah.
That don't accept you're worthy and don't accept less than what you deserve for yourself.
Exactly.
And not compared to him. He never put himself in comparison to me dating.
Exactly.
He put it more as you have to have a feeling of self-worth, and your worth has value to you.
Right.
And you don't want to have less value. He never put it as I'm doing all this stuff for you. He should be able to too. He didn't. It was never a comparison to him, but more a thought that I should treat myself with value and expect someone
What's
to treat
your daddy
me with
name
value.
again?
Walter Davis.
Okay.
Why? Sound like your daddy? That's
my dad had two relationship conversations with me. One was to let me know that if I decided that I was going to be
make
a lesbian,
sure we don't have the same day.
No, right. If I decided I was going to be a lesbian, that he would be okay and he would love and embrace me because I have an aunt that is a lesbian and she was shunned from his father.
Oh.
So he wanted to make sure that I was okay with that. And it was the oddest thing because I'm
random.
16 and it was random as heck. And I was like, oh, shoot. It's because I never talk about boys to my dad. But my dad had never had that open policy where I can be like, Daddy, I got a boyfriend or I like this guy.
My dad, you don't talk. No.
Right. And then his second conversation was just that like when you begin to date, make sure that it's nobody that devalues you or that you have to struggle to be with, that you guys are compatible on that level, or you can just be by yourself. And he would always use like my cousins and as the example of having young kids and just looking at the struggle and things like that, and he'd be like, that could be you. And it was always the most random conversations, and so that's why I would always just go to sleep in the car. Like these conversations
I love that we trap our children in the car to talk.
Yeah.
No,
I do that to my children.
That's what I do all the time because they can't go nowhere.
Just go to
she
sleep.
can't go nowhere.
I learned early, just close your eyes.
She be looking at me like, Daddy, for real. I'm like, yeah, that's what we about to do this right now.
So I'd like to hear from you guys. Should your mate measure up to your parents? Should your mate measure up to you? I think sometimes people think they have to be there. You have to have what I have at least, or I don't know if that's what is that term? Equally yoked.
Equally yoked.
I think the one thing I look for is certain character traits. I think that's very important. Like the foundation or whatever principles you may live by. Like if you're a person who believes in honesty in a relationship, or you're a person who just, believes like you should keep your word. And I look for consistency and character across the board. Like in different facets of your life, like, your job, your relationships, your friendships or whatever. Like if you treat the people you're in a relationship good, do you treat the people you're friends with good? Do you treat the waiter good? Do you treat your coworkers good? I look for that. I think that's important. As far as money, I think that you should be able to take care of yourself. If you're grown, you should be able to take care of yourself. And then, anything else, you don't want somebody who is a liability, I guess.
Yeah, I used to be shallow enough to be like, well, I have this, gotta have a master's degree too, and he's gotta do this, and he's gotta. And the older I've gotten, really at 35, when I was like, okay, this is real life. The fact is, not everybody's going to be on the same path. Not everybody desires to be on the same path. So I'm okay with a person being able, like Okara said, being able to take care of themselves. But I'm more invested in your character. And you mentioned something that's so big to me is how people treat service people. So I pay attention to, like, if we're out and if the waitresses or waiter is a couple minutes behind with, if you go off or the first thing out of your mouth is that's gonna come out they tip, or I got a problem with that. Like, you're just not a kind person. If your fuse is that short, like, we may have some other issues along the way. And then just kind of where you see your values and what do you enjoy doing, things like that are more of interest than what your capital market value could be or is.
Do you think that comes with age?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does.
Not what your parents did. Your dad tell you should find a man that that's not something that came from a parent.
No, and it wasn't until with age now, like my aunts and my uncles especially will pull me to side and say all the time, because I don't bring anybody around. If we're not together, then I'm not bringing you to any family events. And so I've just never been involved in a relationship around the holidays. I am taking applications, right, by the way. No, I'm just kidding.
So what is this season?
It's cuffing season.
Get that cuff on.
My uncle now approaches me and he's always having these sidebar conversations, and he's never talked to me about relationships. Now he's like, you deserve somebody just good, somebody that's going to be nice to you, and it doesn't matter. And I think he thinks that I'm wrapped up into kind of what they do for a living and how much money. So I think he thinks I'm materialistic, and I'm like, but I'm not, Uncle. He was like, well, you just take it easy on the guys. I'm like,
I'm not being hard.
I'm not being hard on them either. Who you been talking to?
At least I don't think I am.
I don't think so. Chris has something. Chris Omoyen. It says that I have noticed that we coddle the boys more than the girls, which has often stunts their social emotional growth and creates a dependent mindset. I think young Black women are conditioned to be the primary breadwinners. It's the saying that parents raise their daughters and love their boys.
Coddle.
I
heard that too.
I think that's why it's important for like boys to have their fathers. Because there are women don't know how to relate to boys like a man.
We don't.
You just don't. Y'all don't have any idea. Like there are times that I am absolutely surprised at the fact that my mom was able to, because like she didn't. My mom is but she's always been like a tomboy growing up. My mom used to fight all the time. She used to, if there was like a big snake, my mom's from Mississippi, so if there was like a big old snake or something, they would call my mother. Her sister, So my mom was always, she was, I guess you could say, a little tomboyish in the first place, and she was never feminine in the way. So she was able to do it, but a lot of women can't. And it's times when like, I remember, dating somebody, they had a son, he was like 11, 12 years old, and she didn't want him to mow the line. I'm like, what you mean you don't want him to mow the line? Like, he 11, 12. You think he's old enough? Yeah, he old enough.
Right.
It was just, it's just sometimes they don't understand it because they can't relate to boys as boys. They could only relate to, what girls did or whatever.
I think it's too, though, not so much can't relate, but feel sorry for what society, how hard society is on Black males, that they have this "I'm gonna be easier on you because life is hard" type mentality.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so hard out here for you that I'm going to make it a softer ride, and they don't know that balance.
Right. And but you just ill preparing them is what ends up happening a lot of times.
I totally agree. So me and the godson hung out last Saturday, and he's 10 now. So I took him to the barbershop with me. I was on the phone with his mom, and she was like, "Yeah, I wish you would have told me you were going to the barbershop. So he needs a haircut." I was like, "I'll go grab him." So we go to the barbershop, and I was like, dang, I'm like stunning his swag right now because he the only one in here with a girl. And so we were just talking about like some of the posters, like boxing and stuff. And I was like, this is conversation. Let me tell you how bad it was. So there's a poster of Muhammad Ali and Tyson. And it looks like it is a flyer for the big fight
between those
and
two.
And I was like, LaShawn, I don't know when they fought. Who you think won? So I'm looking. So finally I asked Black, like, who won this fight? He was like, that's fake.
Right.
It's make believe. I was like, see, this is why so then he was telling me about sex ed, and I was like, I can only give you, it was bad. Like the sex ed, I was just like,
he was asking you questions.
He had his first, no, he was telling me about the sex ed question.
What he had,
and what he had learned, and in those moments, because I gotta act like I'm cool with it. So I'm like, what? So what they say about sperm again? What? So did you know? And so I'm like, these are definitely those conversations that he should be having with his father, not his godmama. And he's more comfortable having these conversations with me than he is his mama, because she's kind of a hothead. And so everything is from 0 to 10 with her. And so I just got to be like, what? So you got to, and so he was telling me he has this girlfriend. And I was like, oh, she go to your school? He was like, nah, she go to Imante school, which is our other little cousin. Around the house. I was like, really? Did she come to your birthday party? He was like, no, she had to do this, and this. And then later on in the day, it was just like, yeah, because Christmas coming up, and I got to buy all these gifts. Who you buy gifts for?
You got a little one.
Well, I got to buy my girl a gift. And then I said, yo, girl, like, we done went from girlfriend to like, I got to buy my girl.
My girl.
So it definitely is. And his dad is around, but his dad isn't having those like real conversations with him now. Now, just little things like that you kind of need. Yeah, that's the sounding board, because I don't want him to talk to me about more.
That was the good thing. I had, because I had older brothers, so anything that I had, experienced or whatever, I could always tell them. I remember the first time I had one of those dreams.
Oh.
And I had found out that I had sperm, because I didn't know I had it yet, right? And I had a dream, and it was like, oh my God, what is this? This, that, and the other. So, I had to go to my older brother, and I was like, hey, I had this dream, this, that, and the other. He was like, oh man, you had a wet dream. And it was funny because I was talking to my older brother, right? And my little brother came to the door, and we sitting there talking, and he's like, what y'all talking about? And I kind of looked like I had this look, and he was like, oh, you had a wet dream, huh?
He knew exactly what it was.
So I mean, it was, so that was good. But on the other hand, I think, my brother, he probably had it harder. The oldest one,
to figure it out.
Because he had to figure the stuff out. Because I think.
Do you think he went to your mother though?
No, ain't nobody going to my mother. Ain't nobody going to Javon Dallas. Nobody go to her with problems.
So did she have like the sex talk with y'all? Like, because I know it's got to be.
My mother's religious. My mother's religious. So
don't do it.
Don't have sex.
Don't do it.
Don't go to have sex. Don't do it on sexual. You shouldn't do it. Kind of thing.
That's the talk my dad had. It wasn't my ex-husband is more with my daughters. He's a high school teacher, of preparing you be prepared. He was like, they're not gonna come. They may not come to you when it's time. So have them prepared with a talk of contraceptives and things like that ahead. And that's like nothing I was taught to do.
Now my babies.
So I had to let him handle that one. So with my daughter, see, because I'm not versed. I'm not not good with those conversations.
Yeah, that's gonna be Joy's mom's talk.
I mean, but no, the fact is, Joy is most likely gonna have a period with you.
Yeah, you have her more than her mom.
That's Joy's mom's talk.
Get prepared, Dad.
I'll be like, it's almost that time when she go spend the night.
Yeah.
I will have the best time ever.
Like, her emotions are kind of, drop you off to your mama house this month.
Yeah.
Well, you are listening to He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com. We've been talking about should your mate measure up in all different ways. Mainly, how our discussion started earlier was should your mate measure up to your parents? Women, if you're looking for a guy, should he measure up to your dad? You had a good dad. Maybe we didn't think about the opposite, I guess, because Nimi and I both had dads, and so the conversation started off with should he measure up to your dad, and for guys, should she measure up to your mother? And does that play a part? Nimi, you mentioned that the mama's boy is way worse than the daddy's girl.
Yes,
it's perceived as being horrible.
Perceived as being a lot worse. I know lately, because she said we have a group on Facebook. Lately, because of that, I'm hearing more dads that are very hands-on, but my dad is not hands-on in my life. He's a catch up on the birthdays, and but he's not that involved. And because I did get married, so if something happened, I'm not going to my father either. I was now married, and that gave him 20 years of washing his hands of me. Now. So he has never, he's not even who I think of now at all of calling if something happens to me. It's not even in my thought process that, I should call my father, even though I know he would be there, but he's removed from raising me. But that happens now, I guess, now that people it's longer between getting married and being handed off.
Yeah.
More women now are probably more still connected to their dads than I feel like I'm about to say back in my day, but I'm just a spring chicken. So I'm just one of the few.
I remember I got a cousin who she got into it with her now husband, but at the time they were dating, and it was something I think she wanted him to do. And he didn't do it, or he wouldn't do it, or there was some discussion of it. And she told him, I'll just ask my daddy then. And
we heard that. I mean, we heard that on one of our shows.
Yeah, and her father was like, yo, you can't say that.
Well, that's good he did that though, because that's good parenting.
Because that's not a good look. It's not. It's and I hope I don't ever.
I was just gonna say,
I hope Joy never ever say them words to somebody. But I don't think that's a good look. I just think that if you can't ask your father, then you just keep it to yourself and you ask your father, but you don't throw that in somebody else's face.
But I think one reason Joy may not is if you are kind of in control. If you come running when she wants something and she has a man, then. I mean, if you told her ask him. That's not my, you would direct her probably to the right thing versus, because if you run every time she says jump and you like how high, then she's going to say my daddy jumps when I say jump.
The one thing I won't there's certain things about, our relationship or whatever, our interaction that obviously I do want her to compare. I'm going to tell her, make sure he's consistent and things, and make sure he keeps his word and things of that nature. But I'm also tell her the way that he, loves you is going to be different than the way that I love you. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't men who look at their wives as, who unconditionally love their wife. There probably is. But I'm just saying it's just different. It is a difference.
I think there's a difference. Now, I know my dad didn't have, but I think I actually just saw it. And they never had that conversation with my parents, but I do think I just saw my dad loving a woman at the same time I saw him loving me, and I that wasn't necessarily the same, but I do. That was something you said. I should have wrote it down because I forget things as we go along, and I'm reading at the same time. Toussaint said,
and you said the same thing that he said about not being the prototype or the typical.
Yes, he said, what if your mom's or pops isn't the prototype? So what do you measure up to? When you're married, you must divorce your parents. I agree with that. And a daddy is always going to run to his daughter. That's not realistic. A daddy is always going to run to his daughter. I don't know if they're not going to. Yeah, I don't know. I just never asked.
I don't think so. Like my dad, I can clearly remember when I was about to be kicked out of college because I had to have an emergency root canal, and they put it on my bill, and the bill hadn't been paid, and they were like, you about to get kicked out. And I called my dad, and my dad was like, well, it's time you learn tough lessons in this world and figure life out. And he was,
but that's different.
Okay with me learning that hard lesson.
My ex-husband is that type of person too, that there'll be times I said, help them, and he's like, no, they have to know how to fix this situation for themselves. You can't go help them. And I'm like sitting there like, please help her. And he's like, no, she has to learn this on her own. And I'm like,
right.
But no, I think that's different. I do.
So when do you call your dad when you could call your guy though? When does that what is an example of that? Because I don't know what that
call like or non-appropriate.
What's an inappropriate call?
I'm trying to see what is when he says a daddy is always going to run to his daughter. That's not realistic. What is the situation? I've never experienced, so I don't know what the situation is that to say that my dad wouldn't step in or what am I? I know I'm not explaining
a situation where you think your father wouldn't step in
or shouldn't
step in. I mean, obviously, a lot of this depends on the father and how he's raised you or whatever. But, like for instance, I think that if a woman and the man, like they're dating, and it could be something like, let's think of a good situation. All right, if she wanted something, but she didn't need it
and couldn't afford it,
and she couldn't afford it, and she asked her man, right?
He said no,
and he was like, no, let's wait, or this or this or that. Let's say they're married.
Okay, that happens a lot. I think.
Let's say they're married, right? And she wanted something. He didn't think it was a good idea. They couldn't afford it at the time, and she was like, "Why don't we just wait?" And then she's like, "Well, shoot, if you don't get it, my daddy will get it, or whatever." And then she calls her daddy.
Or
should he get it?
My father would do.
And he gets it. Or she.
So it sounds like Toussaint is saying that's not a daddy's always going to do it though.
You know what? I think that there are probably some daddies who will do it.
Depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm. But I also think that, my opinion would be that the father is wrong. Like, my mom, she owns a lot of apartment buildings, and I was managing them one year or whatever. And there was this situation where there was this young couple. They were like 21, 22. They were early 20s. And the girl was a daddy's girl, and he was just like overbearing. And one weekend, he came because they lived in Kankakee. He lived in Chicago. He came and spent the night over the weekend in their apartment. Like it was like a 2-bedroom apartment or whatever. And there were some other kids downstairs who was young 20s who were together, and they had smoked weed, right? And before they had even really told us and let us handle it or whatever, her father came and moved them out of the apartment. And the dude and the husband was pissed because he did it on his own, didn't ask him. And they were married.
See, yeah.
And I remember, I'll never forget this. My mother, we were, talking to him, and my mother, when we left one time, she said that girl's gonna lose her husband. And like some years later, I ended up seeing this guy on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, and he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, and that divorce.
I do think that at some point, like what Tucson said, when you're married, you have to divorce your parents. And then I do want to touch too where they don't measure up. So when we say that, but I think we addressed it a little bit with you, Nemi, and when you said your dad. I know I'm talking about two different things at one time. I'm going to talk about them both separate. Reading, doing things, and now merging them. We mentioned not measuring up. You said there were things about you actually didn't always care for, but it didn't necessarily hurt you.
Right.
Did you look for the opposite of that?
Well, my dad is not patient. And
so do you look for patience?
I look for patience. I absolutely look for patience, and not patience in a manner where I'm overstepping my boundaries with the patient meter, but patient in that it doesn't come across that I can't enjoy what I'm doing at the moment because you're ready to leave, and I got to leave right now because you're ready to leave. And my dad has always been it's my way type of dude, and I've always been like, that is crazy.
My mother is the type, she's very mothering, just overly mothering, where I'm an adult, I don't need, she'll tell you, come in your house and tell you it's time to clean up, put that away, don't move that should be over here. You're like, this is my house, I pay the mortgage. My mother is that kind of.
Did she do that to you? Did she do that to your brothers?
No, my brother moved away.
Okay, because I can see that being a problem. Like your mother,
he would be a total mama's boy because he can do no wrong. My little brother can do no wrong.
But could you imagine your mother-in-law coming over and saying, "No, you need to have the furniture here."
My mother would drive that woman crazy.
This and there.
My sister-in-law, I don't think, even though she don't take no crap, my sister-in-law, but my mother would be that woman. But she was that woman to me still. And I would have to say, because I didn't want her to drive my husband crazy. I had to deal with it. He didn't have to deal with her.
Right.
And so sometimes I had to put her out. I mean, this is his home. It's not your home. You're not going to drive the man crazy. Time for you to go.
Time for you to go.
And sometimes I had to practice some tough love on my mother that you're not allowed until you know how to behave. This isn't your house.
But so many people see their partners as temporary and thinking that they have to always side with their parents because the parent is there long term. And I'm like, the parent is gonna be there either way.
And that's what that girl said. The young girl who father moved out, she had said that to me and my mother. She was like, well, my father will always be there, he may not be. My mother was like, yeah, you gonna lose that husband. We walked out of that. And it is the thing is that parents not going nowhere, regardless. Whether whether you tell them no or whether you tell them yes, they still not going nowhere. So you can tell them no.
And you tell yourself that with Joy too. You just answered your question with how you would raise Joy that she's not going anywhere, and you can practice tough love on her too.
Yeah, I mean, I like right now. I tell Joy, I give Joy the business when she need the business. Ask her.
Ask. We Facebook aunties.
You know what?
She got a ton of
what we gonna do?
She does.
One of these days, we gonna have kids up in here. We gonna have Joy up in here. She gonna sit right here, and she'll tell you, Daddy tells me no.
She's smart. She knows when to act like you tell her no.
She knows when to let you win.
Girl. She's smart.
Yeah,
my mama taught me to do that too to my daddy. Like,
let him win.
Because you're winning.
Yep. But you do have a lot of women. I know, going back to how we got on the topic because
thank you for pulling me back.
Talking. Oh no. We were talking about situations where women intentionally seek out men who can do the same type of things that their father has done, be it financially, keep them stable, spoil them, fix a house, mow the lawn, things like that. I knew a person that her father was very handy, and the guy she was dating at the time was not handy. And their biggest argument would be, I mean, he's not much of a man because my dad used to do this, this, and this, and he can't even do this very minimum, I have to do it because her dad was doing it. So she learned how to do a lot of those handier things. And
That's
so
interesting. I wonder, how do you grow up not saying that? I mean, I don't know the difference of what one parent did versus what the other did that would make someone, because I think I do feel I do feel like I want someone with the core values of my father, a hard worker, the things I know of my dad's core values, but I don't necessarily put the comparison that distinctly, like my dad does this. But the only thing I can think is that my dad doesn't still do anything for me after I turned 18. It was kind of like he was like,
mine was too.
I paid for college and I'm
17.
done.
He was like, you out.
I've heard quite a few women who say that, like, they dad was handy around the house, this, that, and the other. So they expect for a man to do that. But the thing about that is you marry, like, if you marry a guy or you date a guy or whatever, right? At some point you find out whether or not he can put up a door or he can build a room or something like that, right? At that point, you decide yes or no, right? Either you continue or you don't continue. But for instance, I don't know anything about a car. I know the oil needs to be changed. I don't know how to change it. I don't know nothing. I don't care about cars. Like, if tomorrow I had $100 million, I couldn't tell you what kind of car I would buy. I don't care about cars like that. So if somebody had a father who, fixed cars or something, they expected that's what men are supposed to do, whatever, they would have to decide whether or not, like I measure up or I don't. But at the point that you say yes and we continue to date after I don't,
you just driving your own stuff.
You're not going to throw it in my face. That's the one thing you're not going to do.
I never had my dad
you're not
do
going to
that.
do that.
Yeah.
He never said it. Like I said before, it was more of what I should expect from men for myself, but not in comparison. I may have added the comparisons when I look for, but never my dad changed, my dad did this, but he didn't make a big deal out of doing that stuff either. Yes, my dad was handy. I do tend to naturally gravitate towards men that are handy, but I don't care as long as it get done. I don't care if you call somebody to do it or I never put that much weight into it, and I can't figure out why. In this conversation, I never even thought about it before. That what makes the difference of the person? Is it the dad, though, who wants the accolades for doing? Is it the dad who says to his daughter, I do these things for you, the dad who wants the accolades?
Yes.
That causes this?
Yep.
Because I think that there are fathers who intentionally cripple their daughters from dating because of they don't necessarily want to see their daughters dating, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like fathers are so protective of their girl, they don't want nobody having sex with them and all of that stuff.
Right.
But I do think that there are like men who put that in their daughter's head to create this standard that is so high that very few men will measure up to, and it lessens the dating pool for her. I think there are men who do that. I think there's probably moms who do it as well.
I think, and they like that. They get some kind of satisfaction
and
validation of being a good mother. I have certain friends who are kind of babying their sons. I think this would be my opinion of it, and they may not think that, and that's only my opinion. But I do think it's sometimes it comes off or feels like sometimes, because I'm a single mom, I want to really come off that my children are
I've done it the
right way, and it validates them that they can feel proud that they are a good parent based on these actions. So Chris said it's natural for the dad to want to do that, but he shouldn't interfere. He needs to let that man run his household. Definitely when you get married, I agree with Tucson. You have to step back and let them build a relationship. And it doesn't help if you're in the middle of their relationship and you're not a part of their relationship anymore. You got to have your own relationship, and nobody interfered with, maybe they did, but your time is up your time is up with this child. And maybe that's what people don't, and not that you stop loving them or being a parent, but
it's just the boundaries. They should shift naturally. And I think it is sabotaging that if you spoil your child so much to a point where they cannot function without you, period.
I can't eat this because that's not the way my mother made it.
Right.
Well, don't you have to eat? I mean, eventually.
Call your mama. Call my mama so you find out how. Like, okay,
How
I
to
can
make
do
what I
some
like to
things to, but not. No, you need to go over there with her.
You know, like that movie, Jump in the Broom.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know I haven't seen that movie. I never even heard of it, but keep going.
All right, so in the movie, there's a guy. He's a mama's boy. And his mama, she just interferes with his relationship.
These are
and
black people. Right?
Black people, yeah.
Okay.
And so she basically just, she exposes the family secret of his fiance and everything. Almost
The mother did?
Yeah. Almost puts the wedding in jeopardy and all of this stuff. And I remember looking at that movie and going through the movie, and there was a time when he like snapped on his mother, and I was watching it with somebody, and I was like, she said, his fiance said, "This is your fault." She said that to him because of what his mother did, and she was like, "This is your fault. You let her do this, that, and the other." And the person I was watching it with, they were like, "Well, that's not really his fault." I'm like, "Yo, it is his fault. I don't care who you are. The people in your life, you are responsible for, especially when it comes to your relationship." And the reality is that if you cannot check the people in your life, it's either for one or two reasons. One, they're not good people in the sense that they are for you, or they think you are a punk. Either way it goes is not good for you.
It's not a
The
good
parent thinks you're a punk.
Yes, it's either the parent think you're a punk or they don't have good intentions.
He can't handle this without me being involved,
so I
gotta help him.
Yes,
Yep.
if you cannot check the people in your life and as it pertains to your relationship, if you can't say, "Hey, listen, step away," and they don't step away, it's either because they don't have good intentions or they think you a punk.
They fear that you can't do it. I don't know if they think. Would you think
They think you're a punk.
So
Yeah.
I do notice. I took some classes recently, and it was a boy in the class with me. And he's 19, and his mother kept coming up to the school, and I said, "Well, his mother is coming up here to ask the teacher questions," and I go, "Oh, you see the makings of a mama's boy," because right then some cord needs to be cut, that he needs to deal with his teachers on his own, because this is a life lesson. She can't keep showing up to find out what mission work you have at 19, that you're just too old. 19. And I mean, that's still teen, I guess. But at some point, you have to let go. And I said, this is going to be a problem, because she can't, if he's not doing it, she can't keep holding him up. Yeah. So do you think she thinks he's a punk, or she's afraid that he'll fail? Or is that
so? I know a few people with sons that are now college ready, and the mom is the one like, "Nah, I'm not gonna let them leave because I don't think that they're ready to handle that right now." And I'm like,
just push them out.
If they're not, they'll come back. You plan on leaving this world? Like, home will be home, but they won't know what type of tools they have to survive in the world until you put them out in the world. Well, I'm so doing so much stuff for them, and
I think the mothers are doing it for themselves.
They are.
My mother was that type of person that to let go means she had nothing. That she had defined herself as a mother, and so without being able to mother us, then she was nothing. What did she do? Right. And so I think it was really because what I noticed about my mother is she had never created her own life outside of her children. And without having a life outside of her children, so it just made her keep wanting to bother the crap out of us.
Yeah,
she couldn't
give us a break.
That is. I think that's a lot of it, is that it becomes about them, and they, whatever type of value they find in it, or whatever feeling it gives them, when they are involved. And then, and so
be
people,
needed?
to be needed. There's plenty of people like that. Like the funny thing is that there are friends like that.
And I think there are dads like that too. Maybe that's where it comes from, with the dads who keep showing up to fix everything for you.
Yeah.
He wants to feel needed, and he's needed by you.
Yeah.
I never thought of it from a guy's perspective, because you think of women wanting to be needed. You never
exactly.
think of guys
look,
who want to be needed.
Absolutely, we want to be needed or valued and all of those things. So no, it's very relevant.
For me, just from observing it, I think a lot of men, when they do have daughters and they are around, most of them come from homes where they didn't have that father figure.
My dad didn't have a father.
They've created what that fathering looks like, and then they emulate it and interact with their children based on, their ideal father-daughter relationship, which sometimes is like, I think you might be doing a little too much here. I had a friend who he got involved with his daughter's relationship, and it got physical because his daughter's boyfriend was he felt that he was being disrespectful towards him, and he's like, well,
the dad was being disrespectful towards the boyfriend.
The boyfriend felt the father was being disrespectful towards him and their household, and so but
they weren't married.
They weren't married, but they have a child together. They were living together, and so it had something to do finances. The daughter asked the father if she can borrow some money for whatever it was, and he took it upon himself, like, if I'm taking care of this household, I can make some decisions. And he was like, no, I'm still like, this is still my household. So it was something as petty as when he came in the house, he spoke to his daughter's boyfriend, and he didn't speak back, and it went from 0 to 100.
Wait. So who didn't speak back?
The boyfriend.
The boyfriend didn't speak back to the father?
Right.
And the father felt disrespected.
I
thought the disrespect was the other, but they both always flip back and forth.
Yeah. So they end up getting into a physical fight.
The dad and the boyfriend?
I mean, he beat up the boyfriend, but which was crazy.
Then the daughter beat you up.
Right. But then he was upset with the daughter because the daughter was defending her man and was kind of withdrew communication with him.
What would I do in that instance when my dad and my boyfriend
you get up on my daddy, like
you get beat up by my
can't
daddy.
take the L from the father.
Or
the mother. Like I just cannot imagine having a drag out.
I will say this though. I don't think it should ever get there.
No, it should. She should have intervened.
It should never get there. I think it's a shame on the father and the boyfriend's thing, because
I think it's
what
a shame
about
on the daughter though.
Like you said,
she's in the middle, so she knew what she was hearing from the boyfriend and the father. Don't get your father involved.
Here's the problem. All right, here's the problem with it. It's like, what is she really gonna do if they're in an argument? What's she gonna do? Step in? Like, I'm sorry, she's not big enough to stop
be at your house. I mean,
go outside.
That's when.
But I mean, But the thing is that if they don't want to listen to her, they don't want to listen to her. But I'm just thinking, as the boyfriend, I'm not going to get into it with my wife, girls. Yeah, at some point, I just think in certain situations, unless it is just something like, I mean, he would have to be extremely egregious for me to get to the point where I think that we would be arguing in a violent tone
enough to
fight. Yeah, I mean, he would have to be extremely egregious, and I just think that as the father as well, though, because at some point, out of respect for your daughter and him out of respect for his woman, you shouldn't go there with the other person she loves the most. Like,
then why is it not the daughter to stop the relationship with the father is the daughter? So why isn't some onus on her to squash her father, or does she not know how,
No,
or
I
has she
mean,
never done it before?
obviously, yeah, she has some onus. I mean, I'm not relieving her of all blame, but I'm just saying, just generally speaking, if I am the boyfriend, I'm not going to get into it to the point where I'm about to fight her father because it now
Just out of respect for elders,
right
not
out of
even
out of respect. There's a lot of things in respect for elders, respect for your girl.
Well, that's
the
our
fact that
generation. We're talking
the fact that you
millennials.
two dang on old to be fighting in the first place.
they fight over everything now.
This is
Tucson
like-
said, I think fathers step back before mothers, though. And I totally agree. But I think we said a little bit earlier, I think, Tucson, you came in part way. I do think more fathers, not all, because we know many in our own, we all
Right.
know mutual people who are not what we're saying, but more fathers raise their daughters to be able to go out into the world. They're teaching us tools. I really feel like, and happy birthday to my daddy, Walter Davis, that he supplied us with the tools to be an adult.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you know these things. These are the basic
The
tools,
essential
the
things,
essential things you need to know to be an adult. And then he was kind of like, 18, you're out. And you're
now go out
and
there.
I am done. And now I could check in for maintenance. Back to my car reference.
Yeah.
I could check in for some mess with my dad, but it was for me to now navigate the world and remember the things he's taught. And I have a younger sister. She is 22, maybe 23ish. And I now get to see my dad as a parent from a different light because she's so much younger. I mean, he's a lot easier on her though. She didn't get no whoopings like I did.
Right.
I don't even know. Maybe she was better. I don't know. Maybe she didn't get in trouble. She didn't do the things I did, but I don't know about that. But she didn't get whoopings, I think. But at the same time, I do watch what he says to her, and it's when she went off to college, that thing of here's the tools again. I saw him saying to her when we went to her trunk party, remember the things I've taught you. I mean, and he said that so many times, that remember these, and he had this list of things that he wanted her to remember to do. And then he kind of, now she's more daddy. She's more probably daddy cling than I am. He kind of really pushed me on out into the world, and he keeps another rank. But at the same time, he raised me and put us where women raise you and keep needing you a little more. No, maybe sometimes the mom needs to feel needed more than the dads, even though dads do too.
Well, dads interfere on in a different light though, like who is acceptable to date their daughters. I've seen fathers voice sternly like, nah, he's not good enough for you, or nah, you.
Oh, and I've had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So too, what would you do in that instance? And same thing to you, O'Gara, like.
If
I want to know that from you too, Tucson, because you have a little daughter that's
if Joy came home with somebody who I didn't think was acceptable,
do you let her learn her lesson, or do you interfere and voice those concerns? Now, let me tell you, she's not in physical danger, so we know he's not.
He's supposed to step in.
So yeah, he's not beating her or anything like that. So.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't. I didn't think that's what you was talking about. I didn't think that. I just generally speaking, like I've noticed some things about, let's say, his character, the way he behaves, that make me feel like he's not, I would have a conversation with her. I wouldn't just let it ride. Yeah.
It's kind of like the Bobby Brown example. Bobby Brown and Bobby Christina and the crazy boy.
So
explain.
So Bobby Christina, the guy who's allegedly involved with her death, everyone around did not like this dude, and so Bobby Brown was probably the most boisterous of them all, but he never got to a point where, it got to a point where she withdrew from him rather than leave her boyfriend.
I've had that happen with my dad when I was 19. My dad did not like this guy that I loved, and I felt my dad was just being that over. Oh, I totally kind of forgot about the story, but more I should know because I wound up having a child by the man. My dad was right. But anyway, I didn't think that way at the time.
Right, yeah.
But at the time, I thought my dad was being hard on because he didn't have the things my dad thought I should have, or the guy I was with should have. He didn't do this. He didn't have this. And I thought my dad was so like being not elitist, but he the car, and he didn't this, and he didn't do this, and I thought he was so uppity.
Right.
I'm gonna tell y'all something, and I hate men. A lot of times we can tell. We've seen the energy of certain type of men. We know what it looked like, and that's the reason why we make comments or whatever. And I mean, if it happens, I also know that like sometimes women, like girls or whatever, especially when they get a certain age, it's just like y'all come to this conclusion. I have been warned that your daddy is stupid.
That's where I was at. Is like he was so tough. You were so critical. You were so.
And so I mean, if it happens, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say something to her, obviously, and I probably just tell her, what, I'm just gonna tell you, I know more about these things than you.
But that didn't mean anything. My dad
and
said
it won't,
that
and
too.
it won't. You know what? And it won't mean anything to her. But at the end of it, when
20 years later, I was like, man, he was so right. Had I just listened. But
it's only so much you can do.
I think if my dad wasn't so tough, something Tucson said, if you're overbearing, she will buck. And that was me. I didn't think my dad was so adamant about it that even though I believed him a little bit, I did see what my dad was saying, but because he was so, I was going the other way.
You were adamant at proving him wrong. Like,
even when I knew some things he was saying was right, I was adamant that it just drove me closer to him because my dad was so
right.
I think had he pulled back, I would have seen it more myself.
Me and my dad still have intense conversations and debates about world issues, and most of the time it is me really trying to prove that I am right and him doing the same thing. We go head to head and get gridlocked. And my dad is like, no, the sky is blue. And I'm like, but
shades of
green. It can be shades of orange if the sun is setting, and I won't give and he won't give. And so we end up, it really did have, and it does even to this day have an effect on how we communicate. Either I have to be prepared to know that whatever I say, he's going to give the opposite. And then whatever, or vice versa, he's going to be adamant to try to, level me down because he wants to win that conversation. I'm like, no.
You know what? Tucson said, just like women can tell ain't-ish women, right? That women, and you know what? It's funny because I've actually had that. I've had that experience before that somebody tried to tell me about somebody who wasn't, they was like, da 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 da, and I ain't listen, and they were right. they was right.
Tucson said, low-key fathers influence daughters more than mothers, and mothers influence sons more than fathers. Mothers influence sons more than fathers. So I'd have to ask guys, is that true?
I don't know. I couldn't answer it.
You only know your mother as the influence.
Yeah.
So in the Psychology Today said the shared characteristics that someone discovers about their partners and their opposite sex parents were robust and not merely coincidental. Needless to say, when romantic partners were like the parents in good ways, relationship satisfaction was high. When the similarities were related to negative characteristics, however, relationship satisfaction was low.
There are certain things that I will not accept or I don't like. And it has things to do with like certain things that I didn't like that my mother did. The other thing that I have noticed is that I tend to gravitate to women who have a certain type of independence. And like my mother is probably one of the most independent women that I know. So I'm sorry. So it's just like it's certain things that I
you just use the other hand, just don't tap.
Right. So it's just certain things. It's certain things that I have noticed that about that my mom has effect. My mother also used to tell me, "You can't compare women to me."
I was just going to ask.
She would tell you that?
Yes, my mother would tell me that. So
have you ever dated a woman who tried to emulate your mother?
No, Nobody.
That you don't let them meet your mother, probably.
They don't meet her often.
You're not gonna meet my dad.
Yeah,
so
they don't
you
meet.
can't
They don't
admit
meet her
that.
often. But I mean, cause like my mother, my mother's a beast in a lot of ways. And so, like she raised 3 boys. When I was like, in high school and grammar school or whatever, my mother was hardly home because she was a teacher. So she would teach class, and then when she would leave, she would go to an apartment building, and she would be working in an apartment building, and then she would come home at like 10, 11, grade papers, get up and do it again. And she would do that pretty much, all week. And on the weekend, like my mother, yeah, she
So
was
I
beast.
dated a guy he still is a bit of a mama's boy. And for him, it was important that his mom liked who he was dating. And she liked me. But we grew too close of friends that he was like, oh heck no. she letting you in on too much. I gotta pull you back. But have you ever dated anyone who
Who my mother liked?
yeah, well,
do they even meet her though?
No, I mean
or do
people
you
meet
look
her.
for your mom to like your
No,
have you ever
I've no.
been and let me take dating, been in a relationship where you felt it was important that your mom liked them?
No, because my mom, my mom stays her distance. Like I don't think my mom, quote unquote, wants to like somebody. Like, she don't want you. She don't want to dislike you. But I've never seen my mom. The only person my mom has ever liked was she liked a friend of mine who I wasn't even dating.
You should date her.
It was so funny because the way that my mother ended up liking her was because one day I had, company. My friend came over, another girl came over, and they were partners playing spades against me.
Oh, so she got to know her personality.
And she got
She
got to know her personality. And I remember we were, like something happened. The girl was like, me and her was arguing back and forth, and my mother loved it because she wouldn't let me get away with anything, right? And my mother and the day that I really realized how much my mother liked her was that one day I wasn't home and the girl had called me and my mother gave me the message. My mother never some girl called you. She was like, said her name and everything.
So-and-so called.
I don't want to be involved in my children's dating.
I can remember. So there, once upon a time, I had a man who was almost my fiance, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Well, I knew we weren't going to work out, but we had already been out ring shopping, getting the ring size a couple of times at the jeweler, and I brought him over to my parents, and it's mainly because I wanted to make sure that they would have, because I'm pretty close to my parents. So just making sure that he would be comfortable in that environment. My dad, surprisingly enough, who I thought would be more standoffish, enjoyed them. But he enjoyed them because he now had somebody else to have a debate with. My mom, who I thought would be more embracing, did not. And she was like, no, it was the opposite. My mom enjoyed them. My dad withdrew. And I found him in the kitchen. And my dad is kind of old school chauvinist, no shade. My dad don't go in the kitchen. My dad sat in the kitchen with me while I cooked an entire meal. And I was like, why are you here? Uh-huh. And so after we broke up, he was like, I just didn't like dude. And so I didn't want to be rude to him or anything like that. But glad y'all not together. I was like, well, why didn't you say anything? He was like, I just don't want to be involved in your stuff like that. But
I think your children, if you have raised them with, they'll figure it out whether you really press them or not. Maybe not. I'm not sure that. You're listening to He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com. This is brought to you by Allstate Insurance. You are in good hands with Allstate, whether you need auto, home, or life insurance. Give Sal a call. Tell Sal I sent you. Get a quote. Maybe you can get some lower rates on those things. The number is 708-599-5100.
Sure.
708. I know I'm going to look. 708. I can't find it quick enough. Yeah, 708-599-5100. 708-599-5100. So I can't believe I don't have any events coming up. So
What?
go hang out, do something. Should your mate measure up? Thank you to everybody who is watching or has watched. We are talking about should your mate measure up to your parents. So you had really, really good parents or bad parents. We still didn't really go delve into what if your parents weren't good parents.
Yeah, some
should they
aged
measure up,
parents.
or are you looking for the opposite?
I think
then?
you generally look for the opposite, but I think we said earlier, if you've been in an unhealthy environment, it's going to go one of two ways. Either you are going to embody those unhealthy characteristics, or you're going to make that decision to be the polar opposite. So it can be,
or you attract them subconsciously to someone that's kind of like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that happens. I definitely think that happens. Like I've heard women say that like they have a father who might like not be as loving or whatever, and they end up dating men like that. Or they have a father who might have like who might be physically abusive, and they end up being attracted or attracting men like that, or finding themselves involved with men like that.
Psychology Today says a body of psychological research reveals that our earliest relationships, especially with our mother, not only influence how we are able to connect to other adults in romantic and other contexts, but also create internalized scripts of working models of how relationships work. So that's interesting that would just come from the mother, but I guess that makes more sense. Well, everyone more than likely is
more
going to have a mom.
More people are probably around their mom, and that's probably most universal.
So that relationship, and I do know that my earliest relationship, especially with your mother, not only influence how we're able to connect to others. So if you have a mother who doesn't connect with you, because there are mothers who don't connect to their child properly, then will you then more naturally be that male or female that has problems connecting with people?
So I teach grief psychology, and children that lose their parents at a younger age, there is an emotional shift in dynamics that can be traced to not having that parent involved. And of course, we always liken it to not having the mother involved. And so it does create a different dynamic that, if not intentionally sought out to overcome those hurdles, it could manifest as being negative characteristic traits.
Because sometimes the loss of a father, the mother now has to work more, and it's the pressures of life makes her not be able to be as involved. So I could see that. I never thought about it, and just definitely didn't think of in case of death. But
I would say this, like for instance, my mom and my father, they separated when I was 2. And
you're the youngest of the 3 boys?
Yeah, I'm the youngest. And so I was 2. So I never remember my father, being in the house. But the thing is that my mom, once she separated with him, she basically went into like beast mode. I have to do this. So, she was always either working 2 jobs, or if she was, doing summer school, she worked summer school and all of that. And she, and from what I could tell, kind of like built this like, exterior or whatever. And so my mother, like when I was sick, my mother wasn't like one of those mothers who, came in the room and gave you soup or whatever. It was like everybody to different, and it was like knock, knock, knock. It's time to eat kind of thing. You go down there, you get your plate and you go to the thing. Like when I was older, I never even said, like if somebody sneezed or something, I never even said bless you. This girl actually got me to saying it because she would just keep sneezing until I said it. Like my mother wasn't like that, oh baby, nurturing type of woman. She was kind of like, she was always working. When she came back, she was tired. And And so in my relationships with women, that is, one of the
emotions.
one of the very, very few things that they complain.
Very few things.
One of the very few things, the one or two things. But no, that was one of the things they would say, like I wasn't, all that emotional. I didn't, hug a lot or hold hands a lot or something like that or whatever, right? I wasn't that.
So my dad was not a very touchy, emotional person as a kid. Now I'm like, Daddy, you just kissed me coming through the door. Well, I can kiss you more than once. I'm in the house and my dad has kissed me like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, dude, do you know something we don't know? Like, well, I can hug you. And he wants that physical presence and touch. And I'm like, Daddy, what's going on? And so I am not a very like touchy, feely, PDA type of person. I absolutely get that from my father.
And because I know like Joy, when Joy gets older, I think she won't be able to date a guy who is like I was. She wouldn't be. I don't think she's gonna be able to, because like now
she's been exposed to.
Because now I'm like I hug her all the time. I'm kissing her all the time. This, that, and the other. We walk. I'm always holding her hands. And I think and then her mom is very huggy and all that stuff. So. Like if you ever, like most people, if they meet Joy, she's going to hug you. She's going to do all that stuff. She's, like that. So I think that like if she continues on how she is, when she gets older, she's going to be one of those people like snuggle with me in the bed. Like, she's going trying to sleep
I'm
on
a cuddle monster.
Yeah, she gonna be a cuddle monster. She gonna be the type of girl I used to look at and be like, oh my God.
Unless she's the opposite, because sometimes when you get so much of that as a child, you don't want, you kind of are like, oh
right,
good, I got so much of that. I don't want.
I got my dad for that.
My dad hugged the mess enough already. You
hopefully,
never know.
Hopefully for a boyfriend, she is.
Or she will have those characteristics.
Right.
So she'll carry those traits. Not necessarily look for the traits in the guy, but she will be
the huggy. Well, that's what he said. That's what
and I have a friend that's like that, and I'm like, I mean, she will cuddle with us, and we're like, stop.
Yeah.
Oh, come here. And you're like, oh my God, no, don't touch me anymore.
Yeah, she's joyous. Like she is always on you.
Should your mate measure up? So we're talking about should your mate measure up to your, should your mate measure up to your parents? So what is our conclusion with that? Should they not? Is it a good thing?
There's a balance. I think that your parents are, like, if your parents are together, of course, they're the first example that you see of a relationship. And so you get to see how your dad treats your mom and how your mom treats your dad. And 18, or how your mom treats your mom and your dad treats your dad. But you get to see your your first examples of a relationship. And so I think that it's good to have that example, but I don't think it's good to carry that as your prototype of what your relationship should look like. Even if it is healthy, or if your relationship should fit what your needs are, not necessarily what worked for your parents, if that makes sense.
I think they should measure up, but I don't think that you should expect for it to be the same. I don't think that you should expect for like, your mate to do everything and, like your father, like your mother. But I think that, if and this is with the assumption that your relationship with your parents is a positive one and it's a good, healthy, mostly healthy interaction or whatever, right? I don't think that you should expect for like, everything that, your father, your mom did and how they did it. I don't think you should expect that or put that expectation on your mate. But I do think that in a positive way, they should measure up. You shouldn't, have to lack, but I think that it should be separate. You get what you get from your romantic interaction and you get what you get from your parents.
So Darius says, hey guys, your mate should measure up to your standards, not your parents. And I think that makes absolute sense. Beyonce is a prime example. She had this song, like daddy. And in the song, she said she wants her husband to be like her daddy. When she grows up, she wants to marry someone just like her daddy. Until she found out her daddy was cheating on her mama. Now she didn't want any parts of those characteristics. So it's kind of one of those.
She knew her daddy was cheating on her mama.
She know.
She knew it.
I think that there are some basic moral standards of life that you should look for in a mate, and if your parents had them, that's good.
Right.
But the things that are fundamental of life, you should look for in a mate, whether your parents did or did not have them. And there are things that I know I've subconsciously looked for. I've never said, oh, you're just like my dad, but there are things that I notice I like about a man that is very similar to my father, that I noticed that if I looked at all the men I've ever been with, they all have the same trait. And my dad has that trait. That's the deduction the equation I've had to come up with. It wasn't like I pre-planned or met him and said, oh, but I find that if you do these things, I go, oh, I like that. And I've never equated it to being my dad till later when I went back and thought about it. But so I do think it plays a part, but like you said, Nemia, that you need a balance. That person it should be the best person for you.
Right.
And how Darius said it was perfect, that they should be the best person for you. And there shouldn't be, I don't like comparing people ever.
Yeah,
you end up so disappointed.
Yeah.
Or it's just unfair to the person that you want to measure up to whatever that other measurement is. Like,
because they're individuals.
Either you're gonna be with them with their flaws and all, or you go on. If it's a non-negotiable that he has to or she has to be everything that your mom was and she can't cook, then why worry her life about trying to get her to go to all these cooking classes that she just can't cook? That's not, she won't be like your mama. She's not gonna burn.
And if that's important to you, then go find somebody like your mother, I guess.
Yeah. Your mama hook you up.
And Tucson said somewhere that person is not going to be like your...
Go Bears.
Bears are playing. Oh, and the little...
48-10.
Blue Island Untouchables are playing. Go Untouchables. They're undefeated. And little Bolt 10. Hopefully... He's number 10.
He's
Bolt
number 10?
10.
Bolt 10.
Yeah, last name
you
is
gotta
Bolt
make sure he always
but he goes by...
10.
It has to always have the number 10. But he... Bolt is what they call him. Bolt. Hopefully your team goes undefeated. So, Okara, how can they reach you, and tell us how can they get that book?
You can reach me on Facebook. You can get that book. PayPal, Okara H at AOL.
What's the name of it again?
Be Your Priority, Not His Option. Go Bears. If you was at room 183, you would have got free shots all day today since the Bears scored 48 points.
Oh, is that their criteria?
Well, today they were giving out free shots.
The day isn't over.
For every time the Bears scored.
So they can go now?
No, game is over now.
Oh, during the game. Yeah, the game is over already?
Funny.
Yeah. And the Bears won 48-10. That's the most points the Bears ever scored.
In
years, probably. So
who did they play?
They played Tampa Bay.
Look at you, Nemia, knowing your sports. We gotta get you at a game night. Or you watching the TV.
Yeah, I'm not watching football, but it's on the screen. It's been in every place I've been to today. But I feel like Okara, Wanda might not get this joke because it comes from Coming to America. Like when he was like, he got his own money. The man got his own book.
Yeah.
We had no idea.
We're gonna talk about it though. So
I've never said anything about this.
Never once have you uttered.
You knew about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know. I never once. I was like, what? No. And he figured that's why you were on the show because of the book. I'm like, no.
You're like,
I didn't know about the book.
No.
Nemia, how can they reach you?
I am Nemia Ward on Facebook and Kirkland_girl on Instagram.
Instagram on Wanda B.
And I'm in He Said, She Said.
Or He Said, She Said. Too. Join our group, He Said, She Said on Facebook. If you like jewelry, I got the $5 holla, $5 jewelry. Check it out. I got a few pieces here, but you can check out the website, Paparazzi Accessories. Check it out. See something you like, let me know. And what else I have going on? You have to go to Allstate and get a quote. I'm sure you're driving a car, vehicle, your home, auto. You need life insurance. Contact Sal at Allstate, 708-599-5100. Tell Sal I sent you. He'll give you the hookup. 708-599-5100. You can always tune in here to He Said, She Said, and IntellectualRadio.com. Stay tuned. We have tons of shows you'll like. Whatever you're into, there is probably a show for you. If you're interested in having your own show, you can contact me at 708-233-8953. I should know this by heart. I had to cheat. 708-223-8953. I will see you here. He Said, She's on IntellectualRadio.com.